Hey guys, it's Marissa, kitchentablestamper.com. Today I've got a cute little treat for you. So we've got this happy Valentine's Day treat and it holds these Smarties hearts, and the top just opens the ribbon, and then inside we have this cute little standing box. It says I'm nuts and bolts about you, the little robot guy on the front, and it just ties open and closed. Isn't that cute? All right, so here's our little treat. I found these at the Dollar Tree. They were, I think, four packages, the $1.25 tree. And we're gonna use nuts and bolts. It's my favorite new set of offering from Stampin' Up! For Valentine's Day. We are going to stamp on a circle for our outside greeting and a scallop rectangle for our inside greeting. Let me show you where those came from. I cut them from Basic White. I've got the second to the smallest stitched scallop rectangle from Stitch So Sweetly. It's about 2 1/4 by 1 3/16. And then my circle was cut using the Layering Circles dies, and this is 2 1/8 inch. I've also got a little scrap of Basic White here, and we're gonna get some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. My little nuts and bolts robot guy here. I'm gonna ink him up in Tuxedo Black and stamp him on the circle. And then I want to ink up the little heart that he's holding. And we're going to stamp that on a scrap of Basic White. And then our sentiment, I'm nuts and bolts about you. We'll stamp that on our little scallop rectangle. And the little hearts from Nuts and Bolts About You. We're gonna stamp 2 sets of those, and we're gonna color and fussy cut the muse and make embellishments. If you are not a fan of fussy cutting, that is okay. You can use some of the hearts from the new Sweet Hearts dies. So you could just cut some red cardstock hearts of 2 different sizes. You could use this little guy right here, and then the bigger one that comes out from the center of these strips would be a good substitute if you don't like to fussy cut. We're going to use the Happy Valentine's greeting from the Coordinating Sweet Conversations. So you can bundle Sweet Conversation stamps with the Sweet Hearts dies and save 10%. We're gonna use this Happy Valentine's Day. So while we're stamping, I've got a strip of real red that's 3/8 of an inch by 3. And the Sweet Conversations is a photopolymer set. So we're going to grab a Stampin' Pierce mat and stamp Happy Valentine's Day for our little banner. Cute. Let me get the ink pad out of here and we'll get some Stampin' Blends in color. Got Smoky Slate combo and Real Red combo. And we're gonna color our hearts, Real Red, our robot, Smoky Slate. Do this little Real Red, dark Real Red right at the top of his antenna. And then this heart is going to get one popped up over. So all we're gonna do is color a little base coat of light Real Red, just so that if it doesn't look unfinished from the side. This one will actually do a full saturated coat and some shading. So we'll take the dark Real Red and just add a little bit of shadow to one side. I usually stay to the left with my shadows. If you always stay to one side consistently with your shadows, your eye will believe it. And it's a simple way to add some dimension. So when we do these hearts, we'll do the same thing. Fill in with the light Real Red, shadow the left side, and then all of our shadows will be consistently to the left, which is how it works in real life because the light is always consistently in one place. Now for our little robot, we're gonna do some Smoky Slate. And I'm going to pretty much fill him in with the light smoky slate, and then just go back and do some of the details and a little shadow with the dark smoky slate. Very simple coloring for this guy. I thought if you wanted to make a bunch of these, we would keep it very simple. So we're going to color him in. And once we've got them colored in and in sections, you want to work while your ink is wet, then we'll add some details and some shadows. So for this guy, I'll just go over his hands with the dark smoky slate, and then maybe every other little segment in his arms, and then down the two sides with this dark, and then bring that together to the light. And that's it. Not a lot of shading here. Color his legs and feet. And then I'll go and do every other little segment on his leg with the dark. And then a little shadow over the top of his feet because his body would cast a little shadow. That's it. His neck. And on his face here, we'll go down the left side with a little shadow and do these little attachments, and then lightly bring these shadow together. And then his neck. There, done. So cute. I'm gonna go ahead and fussy cut my hearts now. We're gonna do all 5 of these guys. And for the one that we're gonna kind of paper piece and bump up, we wanna go right on the line if you can. It's one of the rare instances where I recommend that you cut right on the line when you're gonna piece something back in or bump something up. Say we're gonna bump up his head or his torso or this little heart. You wanna cut right on the line, so take your time there. The other hearts you can cut out with the little white line around, and the little white line of cardstock around really kind of makes you look like an expert handler of scissors, because you don't focus on the cut line. Your eye is going to focus on the stamped line, which is perfectly drawn by the artist. So if you're a little shaky with fussy cutting, give yourself a little tiny border all the way around of cardstock, and you'll automatically look like you're a better cutter than you are. All right, let me get these guys cut out. All right, our hearts, our robots, our greeting, all done. Let's set these aside and let's put together our treat package now. For your treat, you'll need designer series paper of your choice, 12 inches by 2 3/4 inches, and cardstock of your choice. I've got Coastal Cabana here, 7.5 by 3 5/8. So the 7.5 by 3 5/8 is the base of our box. It's the inside where our conversation hearts are gonna sit. The designer series paper from the Sweet Talk collection, that's our wrapper. Then I have one more piece of designer series paper for the front of my inside box here. This is 2.5 inches by 2 3/8 inches. So those are the base pieces for our box. Let's get the Simply Scored tool and we'll score up our Coastal Cabana. Gonna pop your Coastal Cabana cardstock into the Simply Scored tool, and on the 7.5 inch side, you're gonna score at 7/8, 3.5, 4 3/8, and 7. Then rotate once to the right, and on the 3 5/8 inch side, you're gonna score at 7/8 inch. There it is. Now I've got my template here. We're going to work the folds with the bone folder and trim according to the template. I put a photograph of the template in the project sheet. So if you're looking for this information, you don't have to scribble it down. You can go over to kitchentablestamper.com. Just follow the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube where it says project details. Click here. And then underneath the embedded video on the blog, there's a big red link that says Nuts and Bolts Valentine Treat project sheet. Click here. When you click that, it opens a printable PDF that'll have full color photos, all of your measurements and picture of the template. It's printable and ready for you to go, and it's free on the blog. I do that for all of my projects. All right, we're gonna start with this bottom rectangle here, and we're gonna cut that out. So we'll go up along the fold, cut a little angle for a nice neat corner, and then we're gonna bevel the top edge of our glue tab. Just cut a little angle from the edge to the score. And then we're going to cut out these 3 score lines. I like to kind of cut straighter on this side and a little bit more beveled on this side and take out a little dart. That kind of debulks your corners and makes a neater. Now this side will have the bevel, this side will be a little bit straighter. And the method to the madness there is if it's facing the outside, then you cut straight. If it's getting tucked in, you cut the bevel. So here we're going to go straight along this side that's going to be out and bevel on the flap. And then I'll take just a little angle cut off of there too. So there's our box, a little crate for the candy hearts. We're going to put that together with tear and tape adhesive. You're going to put tape on your long glue tab here, and then it tore a little long, but don't worry. What I'm going to do is remove the liner and then just fold the excess tape up. You can fold on the second score, then the first from the other side, and burnish. Now we want to put the side tabs in. We want to bring the back to the front and then the front to the back, so then our seams will run along the back of the box consistently. We'll add some tear and tape adhesive on this flap. Square everything up and then burnish. And you can burnish from the inside with your bone folder too. All right, the back of the box has the seams, so let's lay that on the table. And then we'll get that piece of Designer Series paper and glue that on centered. Got some multi-purpose liquid glue for this. Then I'm nuts and bolts about you. Let's add that to our little pocket. Just a little bit low of center because we're also going to add our little hearts. We cut and colored too. I really love my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to put a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue on the back of the heart, and then just put the heart on the box. There we go. Pretty easy placement that way for the little guy. We're going to put a dot of glue right on the box where we want the little guy to land. He's on the Take Your Pick tool, and just drop it on there. And then I can use the piercing side if I want to straighten anything or just budge it up a little bit. Cute, right? And from the inside of the box, I'll just press with my index finger in and my thumb out. Make sure it's got good adhesion. Super simple. Even that fine little detail with the Take Your Pick tool is so much easier. All right, now we've got our Designer Series paper. Let's score this one. I'm gonna pop it right in on the 12-inch side, and you'll notice that on the template Designer Series paper 2 3/4 by 12 and 2 1/2 by 3 1/8, so those are right on the template. We're gonna score on the 12-inch side at 3/4, 5 1/2, 6 1/2, and 11 1/4. All right, so 3/4, 5 1/2, 6 1/2, 11 1/4. That is our wrapper. Let's run the bone folder over all of these folds. And then we're going to measure for our ribbon holes. So on this 3/4 inch score line, we're going to use a ruler and I've got my erasable friction pen here. And we're going to, right on the line, we're going to measure in 3/4, put a little dot on the line. We're going to measure in 3/4, put a little dot on the line. So that's all it is, just a little dot. Bring the wrapper together so that the scores are right on top of each other. We're going to use a 1/8 inch hole punch here. We're going to punch through both layers of cardstock or both layers of designer series paper right on that dot. If you wanted to use a 1/4 inch hole punch here because you're using a little bit wider ribbon, you can go ahead and do that, but I've got this ruffle one. I have a little bit left. It was from the holiday catalog. I remember I told you guys stock up on your Valentine ribbon while it's on sale from the holiday catalog. Well, I've got this ruffled red and we're going to use that one. You can, if you need a red ribbon, the linen ribbon in the January June catalog is lovely. It's got a let me show you here. This one is available right now currently. It's got a beautiful little linen weave, and it's a nice, lovely, real red color too. So there's a couple of options for you there. If you have the mini ruffled ribbon, it's an excellent choice. I actually liked the Christmas ribbons for Valentine's Day as much as, or even more than the Valentine's Day ribbon. All right, liquid glue on the bottom of your box, spread it thin. And then you're going to open up your wrapper, and I want to make sure my hearts are going up and away from me, because when this opens up, I think it makes sense for the hearts to be. So just take a look if you've got a directional paper and make sure when it's fully open, you still like the way that it looks. All right, so we're going to center our little box in between the fold lines. Can bring this up and just burnish. Check and see that you got equal edges, that it's really centered. You'll have about a 1/16 of an inch on each side. All right, once you got that, you can go ahead and drop your candies in there. It gives you kind of a base to work on. You don't have to. You can fill them later if you want to, but because I've got it and it adds a little bit more stability, I'm going to go ahead and just slide my candies in. Our inside is complete and our treat is in, so there's no reason not to go ahead and thread your ribbon now. And go from the front to the back and then the back to the front so that your bow ends up on the front side. And because this treat is made to be untied to retrieve the treat and then retied to preserve its adorableness, we're going to make sure that our ribbon is good and long. We want big loops, long tails, so that if, as your recipient opens to take out the candy and then reties it to display the cute little Valentine, they can trim the tails if necessary to keep the treat looking beautiful. Plus, a gift is always a little bit more festive and fun with a big bow. So we're going to tie a large bow right up on top of our treats here. All right, let's trim that away from the spool. And this is the end that we thread through, so we want to clean that up. Make them even. Now let's set aside for just a second. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I have a Blushing Bride label. I cut this one using the Hippo and Friends. This is the largest rectangle oval. And we're going to put some dot texture on that. So I've got my checks and dot embossing folder. This is the dots. It's the 2 mini folders. And I love the little dot texture against the printed stripe. So we're going to add that little detail. Going to bring on our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And for these mini folders, they're standard. So we need 1 and 3. And then we can pop our label in the folder. And it's got a pretty strong vertical pattern. So let's make sure we get it so that the dots go across nice and straight. And then number 3 and crank. And there it is. There's our crazy dot pattern. I've got it debossed this time. This time I had it embossed because the die has a little beveled edge that impresses when you cut. It makes a difference. So if you definitely don't want it debossed, make sure you put it in the folder the right way. I don't think it matters. I think it actually looks pretty cool. So I'm going to go with it. We are going to layer a couple of different layers here. I've got a scallop circle. This is from Layering Circles. And we cut the second from the largest. This is about 2 3/16 from Basic White. And we're back with our Hippo and Friends. You guys know it's my favorite. We've got that medium swoopy square, Coastal Cabana. I'm going to adhere my robot to Coastal Cabana with liquid glue. And then I'm going to adhere. Gotta make sure his feet are level because he's going to stand on the greeting, and that's going to determine everything. So let's take our time and make sure he's standing level. Then we're going to adhere our Blushing Bride label to our scallops with liquid glue. Our Coastal Cabana piece is going to go to Blushing Bride with dimensionals. And let's dovetail the ends of that greeting. I like to use the tailored tag punch. Just pop that little guy right in there on the end. Give a punch, both sides. I don't know that I could do dovetail with scissors anymore. This tailored tag punch is just, even if I get off a little bit, I can just put it back in and adjust. I really get the best little dovetails that way. All right, now I'm going to do mini dimensionals. I'm going to put a mini dimensional right here. And on the other side, so on the Blushing Bride, next to the Coastal Cabana, that's how we're going to adhere our Happy Valentine's Day. Make sure we got it centered and level under the robot's feet. Now we'll take our gorgeous labels and add them to the box with dimensionals. Don't go too wide. Our labels go right up to the edge of the designer series paper. Just really support the center, and that's fine. And lastly, let's add our hearts with some dimensionals also. All right. Little heart for our robot. And then a couple to embellish. One and the little guy. Aren't they cute? Happy Valentine's Day. All right. If you've got any questions about the project, email Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. To shop Stampin' Up 24/7, buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. Click shop. All right, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.